As far as do's and don'ts, to be honest, there really aren't any. Surinamese people are very straightforward. I mean, it's not uncommon for you to be transferred from an area to meet a member that served in your old area, say at a district conference or at general conference, and the first thing they say to you is, "Elder, you've gotten fat." So they're very forward with you. They are not bashful at all to tell you exactly what they feel, exactly when they feel it. So as far as, I guess, verbal do's and don'ts, there aren't very many. But cultural-wise, there are three major ethnic groups. There's a lot of Hindus from India and that region of the world. There's a lot of Javanese people from Southeast Asia, an African descent. So I meant three, I meant five groups. An African descent, there's surprisingly a lot of Chinese people in Suriname, which was very surprising to me. And then there's a large Amerindian or kind of native indigenous people there. And surprisingly, there's a lot of different religions. Islam is very prominent in Suriname. Hinduism is very prominent, and there's about every denomination of Catholicism that you can, or Christianity that's there. So it's interesting to see kind of this huge melting pot of culture, of religion, of geological or geographical background. And Surinamese people are very amazing or fascinating a way that they make everything work. They are constantly being mashed and manged with different people from different cultures, yet they all respect each other. They all have an understanding of each other, and there's very little hostility amongst ethnic groups, very little hostility amongst religious groups, and somehow they find ways to make it work. For an example, there was a Jewish synagogue and a Hindu temple on the same plot of ground, and within the same walls, and they're perfectly fine with it, which is very interesting, but really kind of cool. There are over 10 languages spoken in Suriname, which is really interesting. Difficult for missionaries, but really cool to see. I mean, so anybody that goes there, your main language is going to be Dutch, but there's also a language called Sranantongo, which is kind of a national street language, I guess you could say, that everybody speaks, and you'll pick that up as well just talking to people on the streets. But there's a huge Chinese population. Hindi is huge. Chinese is huge, and every different African village or African descent group has their own dialect, has their own different language that they speak. So it's kind of cool to see just how they've evolved and how are still able to communicate, even though they're so different and so diverse, which is kind of cool. Yes, and it's also kind of cool to see that the different religious groups, different cultural groups participate in each other's religious and cultural holidays. I remember one big one is called Pagua. We celebrate it here as the Festival of Colors. It's like the big powder festival. So I think it's sometime in November, if I'm right, celebrated down there. I could be completely wrong, but everybody has pink and blue and yellow and green powders, and you are walking down the street and just get bombarded by kids just covered in powder everywhere. And so that's kind of cool to see. It's a nationwide holiday. Everybody participates in it, and for the most part, everybody loves it. New Year's is huge in Suriname. It's way better than it is in America. The city is just packed shoulder to shoulder with people. Fireworks are everywhere. I mean, even to the middle of the night, it sounds like there's a war zone in downtown Paramaribo, which is kind of cool. But I feel like Surinamese people have a national holiday every other week. So there's always a free day where everybody's off school or everybody's relaxing at home. I feel like the majority of them are self-made, but I guess we'll give them the benefit of the doubt. But for the most part, those are probably the two most memorable holidays in Suriname: Pagua with the powder, and then just the grandeur of New Year's Eve.